Assalamu alaikum students. I hope you all are well, safe and healthy at home. Welcome to all of you in this class of Classical and Renaissance Drama. Well, dear students, previously you were taught about the Renaissance drama. What is Renaissance age? What are the important elements of the Renaissance time? And what are the important characteristics of Renaissance drama and the characteristics of Renaissance tragedy? You were also taught about the difference between classical tragedy and Renaissance tragedy. And in today's class, you are going to learn about important drama of Renaissance time, Elizabethan age, King Lear. It is one of the important tragedies of that particular age. So pay close attention to the lecture to understand all important points of this drama, Renaissance drama, King Lear. King Lear, written by William Shakespeare. So before moving towards the study of King Lear, first of all, I'll tell you about the William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon on April 26, 1564. So he was born third in a family of 8 children and was the oldest surviving son. His father was a successful glove maker and his mother was the daughter of a prominent landowner. At the age of 18, William Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway and had 3 children. Between 1585 and 1592, there is very little record of William Shakespeare's life and scholars have named this period the lost years. Around 1590, he left his family and moved to London to become a playwright and actor. He enjoyed great success and became a very popular playwright, and records indicate he became quite wealthy during that particular time. So Shakespeare was a member of the King's Men who were commissioned by the King of England. And at that time, the King of England was James I. So it was in 1599 that a group from the King's Men built their own theatre, which is called the Globe. He continued to act and write until his retirement in 1613. And then he returned to Stratford-upon-Avon. Shakespeare died on 23rd April 1616. He's having children. So after the death, his wife Annie and 2 daughters survived him. His daughter's children all died without having children, therefore ending the direct descendants of Shakespeare in 1670. So during his lifetime, William Shakespeare wrote very important plays. He wrote at least 38 plays, 154 sonnets, and he has written significant amounts of poetry. He is considered by many scholars to be the greatest writer of English language and the most important playwright of all time. His plays have been divided into different parts according to the subject matter. He has written history plays like Henry IV, parts 1-2, Henry V, Henry VI, and parts 1-3, Henry VII, and Henry VIII. He has written Richard II and Richard III, King John and Julius and Caesar. Along with history's plays, he has written the comedies. These are the name of the comedies which were written by William Shakespeare: The Two Gentlemen of Verona, The Comedy of Errors, Love's Labour's Lost, Taming of the Shrew, A Midsummer Night's Dream, The Merchant of Venice, Much Ado About Nothing, As You Like It, Twelfth Night, and Merry Wives of Windsor. These are the comedies which are written by William Shakespeare. Along with this, he has written important tragedies, which are called the tragedies of Elizabethan and Renaissance time. So he has written Titus Andronicus, Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, Macbeth, and all these tragedies are written by William Shakespeare. In today's class, you are going to learn about King Lear. He has written tragic comedies like Winter Tale, Cymbeline, The Tempest. So, problem plays were also written by William Shakespeare, like All's Well That Ends Well, Measure for Measure, Troilus, and Cressida. So it was all about the important work of William Shakespeare. Now we will start the discussion about King Lear, important tragedy written by William Shakespeare, which is the most important topic of this lecture. So first of all, I'll tell you the time duration that when the King Lear was written. As I already told you that King Lear is a tragedy. Prior to that, Shakespeare has written other tragedies like Othello, and after writing the King Lear, Shakespeare has written other tragedy which is Macbeth. So the time duration of writing the King Lear is 1605 to 1606. At that particular time, Shakespeare has written this important Greek Renaissance tragedy, The History of King Lear. Well, let me tell you the introduction of the King Lear. King Lear is a tragedy written by William Shakespeare. It describes the story of a king falling into madness after he disposes of his kingdom, giving legacies to two of his three daughters based on their flattery of him, but not to the one who actually loves him, which brings great tragic consequences for all in the end. So before moving towards the characterization, before moving towards the summary and important themes of this play, I'll tell you first of all about the characterization of this play. The major characters of this play are King Lear, Cordelia, Gondrel, Edmund, Edgar, the Fool, Albany, and the King France. And minor characters are Regan, Gloucester, Cornwall, Oswald, and Curran. So now first of all, I'll tell you one by one about these characters, major and minor characters, because before moving towards the themes and summary, it's very important to understand the characters. The first of the important character of this play is King Lear. He is the king of Britain and he is the father of Gondrel, Regan, and Cordelia. He is a childlike, passionate, cruel, and sympathetic, and a very complex character, and considered by many to be the most difficult of all Shakespeare roles which are written by Shakespeare in different tragedies. So King Lear expresses violent and eventually goes mad during the course of this play. Second important character of this play is Gondrel. She is the eldest daughter of King Lear. She is a calculating, spoiled, and very selfish and sarcastic lady. She is obsessed with power and wealth. She betrays her father, leaving him in the elements during a storm, and then conspiring to kill him during the action of the play. So she is married to Duke of Albany, but she is in love with Edmund. The other character in this play is Regan. She is the second daughter of King Lear. She is almost indistinguishable from her sister Gondrel. The major difference is that Regan is anxious and shows a particularly devastating ability to inflict violence when she kills a servant and assists her husband in going out one of Gloucester's eyes. She is married to Duke of Cornwall, but she is in love with Edmund. So this point is important to keep it in mind that Gondrel and Regan, these two are the selfish daughters of King Lear, and these two are married but in love with Edmund. Fourth character is Cordelia. She is the youngest daughter of Lear. She is an honest and genuine girl. She is willing to lose everything in order to avoid the spectacle that Lear proposes for the division of his kingdom and refuses to play the game of flattery. She is banished and accepts her fate. She leaves her home to marry the King of France. She later returns in an attempt to save her father, but she is unsuccessful. Cordelia is the classic martyred character of this play. Although she never complains about the treatment she is forced to bear in this play. So the next character is Duke of Albany. He is the husband of Goneril. Goneril is the eldest daughter of Lear, and he is the husband of Goneril. He sides with the King Lear, and he is angry at the way Goneril and Regan have treated their father. So Goneril complains him that he is weak, but he portrays a calm confidence and is not easily manipulated. He has strength in his convictions, and he is one of only two characters that remain to rule the British kingdom at the conclusion of the play. After that, there is Duke of Cornwall. He is the husband of Regan, the second daughter of Lear. Right, so when we talk about the Cornwall, he is a manipulative, ill-intentioned and malicious man. He shows no pity for Lear and actively shares his wife's desire for power and control over the kingdom. He is killed by a servant. Next is King of France. He is the man who marries Cordelia. He perceives Cordelia to be honest and good girl, and he is never seen on stage after the first scene. He came in front of the audience only in the first scene. After that, he never appeared on the stage. Next is the Fool, the jester of Lear's court. He will be his loyal caretaker in spite of Cordelia. Well, other character is Earl of Gloucester. He is another subject of King Lear, father of Edmund and Edgar. I already told you that two sisters are in love with Edmund. So he is a long-time trusted friend of King Lear. He is blinded by Regan and Cornwall, but spends much of the play blinded by his inability to see what is true about his sons. Edgar's loyalty and Edmund's betrayal. He dies at the end of the play, having seen the error of his ways. So next comes the Edmund, Gloucester's bastard son. He will plot against his brother due to his state as legitimate son. So Edmund is unhappy because he was born out of wedlock and is treated poorly compared to his legitimate brother Edgar. From the first moment Edmund addresses the audience, his desire to manipulate and control is made clear. Throughout the play, he continues to lie and behave in a selfish manner. In the last few moments before his death, he seems to have a change of heart when he admits what he done and gives information about the Cordelia's hanging. And next, other son of Gloucester is Edgar. He is Gloucester's legitimate son, and he will be forced to leave his father because the actions of his brother. Edgar is the son who remains loyal to his father throughout the play. So, it was all about the characters which I told you. Now I'll move towards the summary of this play, which is very important to understand before moving towards the other important aspects and points of this play. So let me tell you the summary. The story opens in ancient Britain, where the elderly King Lear is deciding to give up his power and divide his realm amongst his three daughters, Cordelia, Regan, and Goneril. He wants to divide his all realm, his all kingdom amongst the three daughters. So King Lear's plan is to give the largest piece of his kingdom to the child who professes to love him to the most. And he was sure that his favorite daughter Cordelia will win the challenge. Gondrel and Regan, as I already told you, these two are the very corrupt daughters of the King Lear. So, as they are corrupt and deceitful, they lie to their father with sentimental and excessive declarations of affection for their father. On the other side, Cordelia, however, refuses to engage in Lear's game, and she replies simply that she loves him as a daughter should love to her father. On the other side, it was not acceptable for the King Lear because he was expecting that Cordelia is his favorite daughter, she will win. So it was a shock for the King Lear, and her luckless retort, despite its sincerity, enrages Lear. Basically, she speaks the truth, because when she says that she loves him as a daughter should love to her father, so it's the fact. But it enrages the King Lear, and he disowns Cordelia completely. When King Lear's dear friend, the Earl of Kent, he tries to speak on Cordelia's behalf, so King Lear banishes him from the kingdom. So it's the start of this play. After that, let me show you the images. Cordelia in the court of King Lear. Here's the Cordelia, and King Lear is sitting here. Well, King Lear banishes the Cordelia when she says that she loves him as much as a daughter should love to her father. But he was expecting that Cordelia will express a lot of love and affection for her father. But it was not done by the Cordelia, but the very corrupt daughters of King Lear, Regan and Gondrel. They expresses a lot of affection and love, and they got all the territory, all the kingdom of King Lear. Meanwhile, the King of France, present at the court and overwhelmed by the Cordelia's honesty and virtue, he asks for her hand in marriage despite her loss of a sizable dowry. So Cordelia accepts the King of France's proposal and reluctantly leaves the King Lear with her two cunning sisters. Kent, who is the friend of the King Lear and who has been banished by King Lear because he was speaking in favor of Cordelia, so he was banished by the King Lear, but he remains to try to protect the unwitting king from the evils of his two remaining children. So he disguises himself and takes a job as King Lear's servant because he wants to protect the King Lear from the other two corrupt daughters of the King Lear. Now that King Lear has turned over all his wealth and land to Regan and Goneril, which are the corrupt daughters, selfish daughters of King Lear, their true natures then started to reveal at once. Lear and his few companions, including some knights, a fool, and the disguised Kent, go to live with Goneril, but she reveals that she plans to treat him like the old man he is while he is under her roof. So King Lear decides to stay instead with his other daughter, and he sends Kent ahead to deliver a letter to Regan, preparing her for his arrival. However, when Lear arrives at Regan's castle, he is horrified to see that Kent has been placed in stocks. Kent is soon set free, but before Lear can uncover who placed his servant in the stocks, Goneril arrives, and King Lear realizes that Regan is conspiring with her sister against him. It is the time when he came to realize that both daughters are conspiring against him. So Gloucester arrives back at Regan's castle in time to hear that two sisters are planning to murder the king. He rushes away immediately to warn Kent to send Lear to Dover, where they will find protection. Kent, Lear, and the Fool leave at once, while Edgar remains behind in the shadows. Sadly, Regan and Gondrel discover Gloucester has warned Lear of their plot, and Cornwall, Regan's husband, scratches out Gloucester's eyes. A servant tries to help Gloucester and attacks Cornwall with a sword, a blow after later to prove fatal. So Cornwall died. Here you can see how the King Lear was left in the storm with the Fool. So news arrives that Cordelia has raised an army of French troops that have landed at Dover. Regan and Gondrel ready their troops to fight and they head to Dover. Meanwhile, Kent has heard the news of Cordelia's return and sets off with Lear hoping that father and daughter can be reunited. So Gloucester too tries to make his way to Dover, and on the way he finds his own lost son Edgar. So tired from his ordeal, Lear sleeps through the battle between Cordelia and her sisters. When King Lear awakes, he is told that Cordelia has been defeated. At that time, King Lear takes the news well, thinking that he will be jailed with his beloved Cordelia, away from his evil offspring. However, the orders have come not for Cordelia's imprisonment, but for her death. So despite their victory, the evil natures of Gondrel and Regan soon destroy them. Both in love with Gloucester's cunning son, Edmund, who gave the order for Cordelia to be executed, Gondrel poisons Regan. But when Gondrel discovers that Edmund has been fatally wounded by Edgar, Gondrel kills herself as well. So as Edmund takes his last breath, he repents and the order to execute Cordelia is reversed. But the reversal comes too late and Cordelia is hanged. Lear appears carrying the body of Cordelia in his arms, mad with grief. So King Lear bends over Cordelia's body, looking for a sign of life. The strength overcomes Lear and he falls dead on the top of his daughter. Kent declares that he will follow his master into the afterlife and the noble Edgar becomes the ruler of Britain. Here the time when the play ended. So it is the summary of this play. I hope you all enjoyed and got very important points. So dear students, it was the summary of this play. So now I'll tell you a little critical overview, critical analysis of this summary, or you can say the tragedy of King Lear. So the tragedy of King Lear revolves around the imperfect relationship between father and child due to misunderstandings and personal greed. So this play consists on 5 acts. In Act 1, we see these imperfections when King Lear judges the value of his daughters through materialistic words rather than their actual feelings. This is reflected upon Gloucester's family in Act 2, when Gloucester blindly puts his trust in Edmund without consulting with Edgar to find the truth. So, in Act 3, we see that as a result of these imperfect relationships between kin causes the younger generation to take advantage of the older generation. And in Act 4 and 5 concludes this tragedy by the repentance of the fathers. Through suffering and despair, both fathers have opened their eyes to the truth of their family affairs. Thus, King Lear brings us back to where we started. The play still holds true to its traditional values such as inheritance, patriarchal societies, and the monarch. Yet it perhaps raises new questions on topics such as favoritism and the importance of communication in a father-child relationship. So, it was all about today's class. in which we have discussed about the William Shakespeare. We talked about the important characterization of this play, King Lear. We have discussed the summary of this play and the analysis. I hope all these points are pretty clear into your mind. Now I'll wind up the session. In the next class, I'll come up with the themes and other important aspects of this play. So take care. Allah Hafiz.